Woo! Welcome in on a Taco Tuesday. I'm responding to Jeremy. Woo! All right. Guzzle some coffee. It's the wonder drug that works wonders. One person in here. Who might it be? Who can it be now? You don't want to hear me sing. Not first thing in the morning, not ever. My hat's not. Look how crooked that hat is. What is up with that? Can't have a crooked hat. Woo! Woo! We're about less than 3 minutes out from going on the air. I don't have a poll question yet. I am open to a poll question. Let's see. I need to get that story. All right. Let's see what we got here. Steve Duraco, Anthony Del Toro, Ramon Rodriguez Martinez, Luisa Alanis. Let me know if you can hear me. I had a mic test on this StreamYard system when I started it, and I was like looking for levels on the mic, and it wasn't showing any. So Steve, Anthony, Ramon. Oh, yes, Steve. Thank you very much. I don't know what's going on with this thing. Thank you, Haas. Haas, I wrote you back this morning. You probably saw it. You sent me a message. I wrote you back at like 3:45 in the morning. Thank you, Ramon. Thank you, Luisa. Thank you, Hector. Yeah, I don't know what the deal was when I signed on to this video, which is it's the StreamYard platform. It said testing your mic, and it's got like little level bars, and I was testing, click, 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 and nothing. So I thought, oh, this is going to be great. All right. So Steve Duraco, I sent you a text. I think we might have to begin our San Antonio Polar Bear Club board meeting maybe an hour early, given the frigid triple-digit temperatures that are expected today in South Texas. Yeah, Haas, and as I wrote you, one of the coolest, now it's fairly easy, as you know. And what's great is you're already doing videos. Like I see the ones in your car and stuff where you're just talking to the camera. But, on your smartphone, it's so easy now to do a video and like do a couple of different shots and shoot it on a tripod. If you have an iPhone, I think it's called iMovie. It's a very simple editing software. And anyway, I'll talk to you more about it. John Williams from Dallas, good morning. Jesse Bratton, good morning. How about them Yankees? What did the Yankees do last night? I know the Astros lost and apparently lost a pitcher last night. Damn Yankees. Sorry, Jesse. I got issues. Let's see. I'll pull up the Major League Baseball scoreboard from last night. Here we come. We're coming on the air. Astros lose 6-3. What'd the Yankees do? I don't see the Yankees score. They beat the Orioles 6-2. The mighty Orioles. You're proud of that, Jesse? Beating the Orioles? We could beat the Orioles. Here we go. Woo! Tracy Bogert, welcome in.
Now, Chris Duel.
Welcome in to a Taco Tuesday. Every day is Taco Tuesday, but especially on Taco Tuesdays. Don't let LeBron James steal Taco Tuesday. We had it before LeBron James took it. LeBron, come on, man. LeBron James, perhaps a future San Antonio Spur, if the Spurs ever get Bronny James. I think it's a package deal. I think Bronny's like 1 year out or 2 years out. See, thank you, Pop. See, and by the way, Chris Duel show with Shannon Salty Sweeney. And Shannon, you probably know this better than I do. Is tonight the draft lottery? I know it's either tonight or tomorrow night. Is it tonight during the...
I do believe it is tonight. I was watching the local Houston news yesterday, and they were very excited about the lottery because, as we know, they finished dead last in the NBA. So they're hoping to get not just, obviously they get a top 5 pick, but they're hoping for number 1. They even did that tweet joking about Elon Musk about how that it should be illegal for them not to get the number 1 pick this year.
Wow.
Big night in Houston. Big night in Houston.
However, Shannon, I was talking to some friends of mine yesterday in the pool because it was like 100 degrees. And, I was saying, wouldn't it be great, if the Spurs somehow, the odds are long on them getting the right ping pong ball. But, wouldn't the rest of the league hate us if we got it? Because that's how we got David Robinson, who, oh, by the way, will be representing the Spurs tonight in that draft lottery. But that's the way we got David Robinson. That's the way we got Tim Duncan. And then these friends of mine said, yeah, but even if we got it, there's no huge prize. When Tim Duncan was coming out, he was the prize of that draft lottery. David Robinson was the prize of his draft lottery. So even if, a lot of people are saying there's a decent chance the Spurs get a top 4 pick out of this lottery tonight. But again, I mean, even if you get to number 1, so for the Houston Rockets or whoever gets number 1, I mean, sure, you want it. You want to have your pick of anybody you want in this draft, but there is nobody that we go, oh my God, it's that guy. We all want that guy.
Yeah.
It's almost like the NFL draft was kind of like that. Whereas a year ago it was Trevor Lawrence, and I had my Tank for Trevor T-shirt throughout that whole regular season leading up to the Trevor Lawrence draft in the NFL. But we'll start looking more and more at top draft prospects, but nobody, there's good players, but I don't know that there's a superstar among them.
Yeah, I mean, that's not to say they can develop into one, but there's no one that you say they will immediately be a game changer for this team, give us extra wins so we're not in this position the next year. I mean, I think it's still very much going to be a building process for a team like the Rockets, no matter which pick they get in the lottery. But you're right. There's no one that immediately stands out this year, similar to the NFL.
And a little bit later, Shannon, I mentioned, and I saw the list yesterday, everybody who's representing teams in the NBA tonight in that lottery. The most impressive name is David Robinson. I mean, we'll
Sure.
pull the list. So if Mojo has anything to do with it, if gravitas, karma, and gravity, a planet has gravity and other bodies orbit around that planet or that star or that sun, the Spurs easily have the coolest representative and the most accomplished representative. And because they got him in the lottery, maybe David Robinson is a good luck charm for the Spurs tonight. That'll be interesting.
That'd be cool. Why do players go to this? Why are the Trailblazers sending Damian Lillard and the Kings sending Sabonis?
I think just sizzle. I think they're just trying to, because I mean, if you think about it, for your fan base, I mean, especially if your team sucked this past year, and most of these teams had an off year. Spurs got into the play-in tournament, which was cool. And with the 3 first-round draft picks, I'm feeling very good about next season for the Spurs. But I would think if you're the Portland Trail Blazers, it's like, God, we had a crappy season, but our fans are going to be excited about this lottery. They're going to tune in. So I think they see it as a commercial for your team. So if you're the Blazers, it's like either CJ McCollum or Damian Lillard, those are the 2 marquee names for the Blazers. I think that's why they trot them out there.
Well, the league apparently didn't discuss this because, like, the Rockets sending their general manager, Magic sending the president of basketball operations. That to me doesn't scream TV.
Boring. Yeah. So Jeremy KOLOK, you're a hardcore NBA guy. Why do teams like the Portland Trail Blazers trot out Damian Lillard? Why do the Spurs trot out David Robinson when some of these other teams trot out a nameless executive?
Well, Chris, simply put, not every team has a David Robinson. Not every team has that kind of history, Chris. Not every team. Maybe they would if they could, but they don't have a name of that calendar, Chris, and we all know that.
Nice. Speaking of big names, Shannon and Jeremy, I noticed on the live video feed, Jeremy KOLOK has somebody looking over his shoulder. And whenever that happens in radio, you're always a little nervous. I mean, is that the boss man, Brian Gann? Did I do something wrong? After the show, is he going to say, Chris, come into my office? And that usually happens on a Friday after your last show of the week. I've got a little bit of experience in this realm. And then exactly, maybe you say something like that on the radio, and then the boss man says, hey, Chris, come into my office after the show. And then once you get into the office, they say, close the door. And then when you get come into my office after the show, and then when you get close the door, then get ready to pack your stuff. Jeremy KOLOK, who was looking over your shoulder this morning?
This very nice gentleman, very talented gentleman, is named Irvin.
Irvin Magic Johnson
Irvin into the
from the TV show Winning Time, Rise of the Lakers Dynasty.
I haven't quite asked yet, but he doesn't look the same as.
Well, they never look the same in person. These big celebrities.
That's true. You're right. Yeah. To Hollywood and all that, but I'll be sure to ask about that in this next break.
I mean, is he 6'3"? That's one way to find out.
He could start in Winning Time. He could play Magic.
Not 6'10", I'll tell you that.
So I'm assuming he's training to be a big time engineer and soundscape stylist like you are.
Yeah, Chris, I wasn't very worried until you started mentioning your experience about getting the door closed behind you in the big boss man's office, and I'm starting to think, maybe I had a moment there.
There's no way.
But, yeah,
you're the golden child, man. There's no way.
I would like
they want to clone you. If anything, they're probably going to take your DNA and try to clone you. Is what they're going to try to do.
That's what we're trying to do this morning, I guess.
Wow. Well, Shannon and I have added a clause to our contracts. We don't. God bless Irvin, and I'm sure he'll be wonderful. But no replacing Jeremy KOLOK. Irvin is free to go to the Sports Grind. He's free to go to the Mike Taylor Show. He's free to go to any other show in the building. He's free to assist you. He's free to hang out. But don't be big timing us and going somewhere else, man. Like that Scott MANDZIARA. Oh, I'm leaving for St. Louis. Yeah, San Antonio's not big enough for me. I'm going back to St. Louis. MANDZIARA.
Yeah, MANDZIARA at 7:05 this morning.
I forgot he's on the show today. I better not badmouth him.
This is where I belong.
All right, thank you. So Shannon, speaking of the NBA, tonight, a big night, Eastern Conference Finals, Game 1, the Boston Celtics, who are evil. And I have it's interesting. I forgave Kawhi Leonard for his antics. But I have yet to forgive Red Auerbach, the late Red Auerbach, for not wanting the Spurs or any of the ABA teams to get into the NBA. Maybe it's time for me to let that go, but I will be pulling for the Miami Heat in this series. Miami, with the best record in the Eastern Conference, they get home court advantage. I just still, Shannon and Jeremy, educated me a little bit about the Miami Heat on the show yesterday, but I feel like Boston's going to win this series. And before the show's over, the three of us, Shannon, have to make a prediction for this series. Miami, Boston, who wins and in how many games. And then tomorrow will be game one of the Western Conference Finals, your Dallas Mavericks against the evil Golden State Warriors. So I'm feeling Boston, though, in this series. Shannon, how about you?
I think, yeah, I feel Boston, but for the cases of our picks, I might switch it up because you never know. I mean, the Heat, they were disrespected throughout that 76ers series, right? I mean, it was look at the star power, and then look what ends up happening. So for me, I think the Heat definitely stand a chance, especially with that home court advantage. They got that extra day of rest, so if they're gonna win a game, tonight's the night. Start game one and the series strong. You got the legs for it, and you're at home.
And the Heat, and Jeremy, you are high on the Heat. Eric Spoelstra, Pat Riley, and this whole Heat team. I mean, you go all the way back to before LeBron showed up, to the Dwayne Wade pre-LeBron era when they had Shaq. I mean, I think we kind of overlook the Heat as a consistent franchise that is pretty much always there and always relevant. Obviously, when they had LeBron James, Chris Bosh, and Dwayne Wade, that was kind of their apex. But, they were in that NBA Finals against the Lakers a couple of years ago in the bubble. Here they are this year with the best record in the Eastern Conference. One of my, issues with them is I kind of feel like to win an NBA championship these days, you need a superstar or two. Most recently when Milwaukee won it a year ago, Giannis is about as big of a superstar as you can have in this league. Of course, they had Chris Middleton and some role players. Typically now you need kind of a big three or a big two. If you go back before the Giannis, you had LeBron James and Anthony Davis winning it for the Lakers in the bubble. With the Miami Heat, you've got Jimmy Butler and some really good guys like Duncan Robinson and Bam Adebayo and some nice role players, but nobody stands out and you go, oh my God, how do we? That guy's their Luka. There is no Luka on the Miami Heat. Why do you like them so much, Jeremy?
Well, Chris, I think they're a very efficient franchise. I mean, they're never down for too long, right? They have like 2 or 3 down years and they're a playoff team again, it seems like. And like you just mentioned, going from the LeBron, Chris Bosh, and end of the Dwayne Wade era, and then being able to get back to a finals that quickly in the bubble finals with a completely new roster, it's just impressive to me. And I think the backbone of what they do is defense and effort and putting in that extra, diving on the ball for loose ball, diving for loose balls and stuff. They're just that team that it's like we want it more than you, and we don't care that we don't have a Steph Curry or a Luka Doncic or a Giannis. It's they're just like, we don't care. We're going to defend anybody, and we like ourselves against anybody. And I like that.
Shannon, we talk a lot about Greg Popovich, and we should, as the greatest coach ever, at least in my book, in the NBA. Certainly he's got the most wins, regular season plus playoffs, but Eric Spoelstra, who already has 2 NBA championships under his belt, 2012 and 2013, he is only 51 years old. I think Pop is 73 right now. If Eric Spoelstra coaches another 20 years in the NBA, and you look at the rate of his success working with Pat Riley as the Miami Heat coach, all of this love that we are rightfully giving to Coach Greg Popovich for an amazing career that goes on 20 years from now or less. Eric Spoelstra may have the most wins in coaching in NBA history. And, I mean, he's not a guy you think of when you think of a coaching Mount Rushmore. Phil Jackson, the Zen master, is on that one. Probably Red Auerbach, hate him, Pop. But I mean, if Spoelstra keeps coaching, Spoelstra is going to have to be on your NBA head coaching Mount Rushmore sooner or later if he continues to have this kind of success.
Yeah, those Mount Rushmore coaches like a Pop, they're kind of anomalies, right? Because they get the credit when the team wins, and they also take the blame when the team loses. Most coaches don't get credit when teams do well, right? It's all the focus on the players. But for him, you mentioned those 2 championships during that big 3 era with Bosh and Wade and LeBron. Those were personalities at, I'd say, the peak of their careers that he also had to wrangle. So he was, kind of in the behind the scenes when those championships were won, right? Because you had those three big faces. But I think, here we are 10 years later, and he's starting to get some more credit for those wins, especially when you, like Jeremy said, throw on the bubble appearance in the finals just, a short time later, considering how many other teams have yet to make it to the finals since the Heat won their last championship.
And here they are in the Final Four. I mean, a lot of people expect the Golden State Warriors to win the NBA championship out of these four teams. I think I saw yesterday the odds, and I forget specifically what they are, but I think Las Vegas has Golden State at number 1 to win it. Number 2, Boston. Number 3, Miami. And number 4, Shannon, but I don't count them out, your Dallas Mavericks. I mean, this, we'll talk more NBA playoffs, but this is starting to look like it could be a coming out party for Luka Doncic. We said early on in these playoffs, Luka can't do it alone. He needs a supporting cast, and that's true. But, when he gets a little bit of help and when he's just being Luka, my goodness, I don't think we can rule out the possibility that the Mavericks might just win their series, which begins tomorrow night against the Golden State Warriors. So we will talk a lot of NBA playoffs, as we should. We'll talk NFL football, news about Deshaun Watson, the latest in the Deshaun Watson saga. We will get into that. The Houston Astros fall in Boston at Fenway Park last night. Rain delay for a while. They wind up losing 6-3. And their pitcher, the Astros pitcher, Jake Odorizzi, is taken off the field on a stretcher with leg issues. So a rough night for the Houston Astros. Speaking of baseball, Scott Mandziara, who I disparaged earlier in the segment, Scott will join us from St. Louis, where he defected to, his native St. Louis. We'll talk baseball with Scott Mandziara. He's also a hockey freak. St. Louis Blues have advanced in the NHL playoffs. We'll talk just a tad of hockey, because nobody loves hockey more than Shannon, Jeremy, and me. We are your source.
Those stars.
Oh, God, yes. All things hockey and lacrosse. We are just, man, we own hockey and lacrosse on this show. So we'll talk a little hockey and probably NBA playoffs with Scott Mandziara at 7:05. Coming up, the high five play of the day, Shannon's Salty Shakedown, sports history, sports birthdays coming up just after 7:30. We'll also let you know coming up in the next segment how you can be a part of the show if you don't already know how. We are with you till 9. She's Shannon Salty Sweeney. He is Jeremy KOLOK. You're listening to The Chris Duel Show. Woo! PYT. PYT. Thank you. Little Michael Jackson in the morning. Little Rangers love there from John Williams. Let me see. Well, that's loud. Steve Duraco, good morning. The original rock. The original Italian stallion. Some people call him classic rock. Anthony Del Toro, Ramon Rodriguez Martinez, Luisa Alanis, Don Haas Holding. All right, let's see. Okay. Haas Holding, we mentioned. Good morning, Anthony Del Toro, Luisa, John Williams, Jesse Bratton, Wes Perkins, good morning. Hector Gomez, the pride of Central Catholic High School. Lucinda Sullivan with the coffee emoji. I need a refill on my coffee. Look at that. I'm getting low on my coffee. That is interesting. Yeah, coffee just makes you feel better in the morning. They say cocaine does as well, but I don't want to do anything illegal. I'm going to walk down the hall and ask Tim Merriman a question, if I can find him. The lovely and talented Tim Merriman, a.k.a. Mr. T. I pity the fool. I pity the fool. My prediction for this fight, pain. That was Clubber Lang from Rocky 3.
Kelly Blue Book is the one-stop shop for pricing, fixing, selling, instant cash offer. Instant cash offer is exactly what it sounds like. An official offer to buy or trade your car. Just enter your VIN or license plate. Answer a few questions about your car's history and what kind of condition it's in. In minutes, you'll receive an offer to sell or trade your car that you can be sure is fair. Then choose a dealer to purchase your car and schedule a time you need. For all of the hits, KBB.com.
Woo, woo, woo. Jeremy KOLOK in the house. Beth Settle, good morning. How are you this morning, Beth? Tracy Bogert with us. Tracy, the chairman of the Bexar County MAGA Republicans. Coronavirus deniers. Vladimir Putin sympathizers. And voter suppression enthusiasts. Welcome. Tracy's very politically active. This bud's for you. Oh, thank you for that, Tracy. I gotta click on that link. Click on that link. I need to mute this. I gotta mute this site. There it goes. Seven o'clock tonight. Okay. Yeah, the game is at 7:30. So 7 o'clock tonight on the Four-Letter Network. Yeah, I'm sorry. Nobody, maybe I don't have time. Nobody has a better representative at the lottery. Charlotte, PJ Washington. Cleveland, Anderson Varejao. Detroit, Richard Hamilton. Yawn. Houston, Raphael Stone, the general manager. The Knicks, William Wesley, executive vice president and senior basketball advisor. Here we go.
Back. It's the Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney. Join 800-707-960.
That's right. Dude with the voice, pimping our phone number because we take your phone calls in the morning. We love talking with you in lots of ways. You can participate in the show. Phone number, as he just mentioned, 800-707-9760. Lots of people joining us on the live video feed, which is a lot of fun because you not only react with us in real time, even during the commercials, but you're also interacting with sports fans from across Texas and often around the world. So that's a fun thing. And we've been telling you about the free iHeartRadio app, which is tremendous. We are always, we're getting a phone call as we speak from Wes Perkins. The free iHeartRadio app, we're always crystal clear on that iHeartRadio app. And on your phone, there's a little microphone button now. It's relatively new. It's called the talkback button. You can leave us a message. You press the button, you leave a message, you send it, we get it instantly, and we play it on the air. And that way you just get direct access. We play it on the air, and we react to what you have on your mind. And Shannon, before the high five play of the day, we are getting a phone call from our good friend, Wes Perkins, who has been in studio. He has been part of Spurs React on 1200 WOAI as well. He is a Texas Tech alum, but we forgive him for that. Wes Perkins, good morning. How are you?
Hey, all of us Red Raiders are great people. Just saying. We just
True.
kill everybody. Hey, so here's the deal. I disagree with you, Chris Duel, on one big point about.
How dare you?
I know. I'm sorry. I really feel like there's two franchise players in this draft. Paolo Banchero from Duke and Jabari Smith, I believe. Both of those guys, I feel like, you know, if you were fortunate enough to get in the top 2 or top 3 to get one of those guys, you would have a chance to have somebody, if not to be, you know, the next Tim Duncan or David Robinson. I mean, you're talking about a guy who absolutely could be all-star in Banchero in the first 3 or 4 years of his career. You know, and if you paired that with a guy like DJ, you'd have a pretty formidable duo. You know, think about Bam Adebayo. Think about, I mean, Luka Doncic went number 3. And, you know, here's the crazy thing about that draft that year is everybody had, it was surefire. DeAndre Ayton was the number 1 draft pick that year. You know, and not to say that he's a bust, but he's certainly not better than Luka Doncic at this point. So, you know, I feel like Chet Holmgren this year is the bust that's going to be in this draft. And quite frankly, I'm really hoping the Spurs lottery, you know, that they have some good luck tonight, and proud to see David Robinson represent them. So
it sounds to me, Wes, like you're geeked up about tonight's draft lottery at 7 o'clock, by the way, tonight on the 4-Letter Network. Sounds like you're, because you rate these 2 players so high, sounds like you're going to be locked in.
You know, I think so. I feel like this is the time that we have some interesting things that happen. You know, regardless, if the Spurs get a top 9 pick, which they should, top 7 pick, you know, a top 5 pick, top 4 pick, possible. They still have 3 first-round draft picks and a ton of cash. You know, is this the first season that we see the Spurs do something, even if they don't have a top 3 pick, for instance? I mean, they have the goods finally to really do something to set up what's already a pretty strong core nucleus. So yeah, I'm pretty geeked about it because I think that this really could turn the fortunes of the franchise.
Finally, Wes, these final 4 teams still alive in the NBA: Golden State Warriors, Dallas Mavericks, Miami Heat, Boston Celtics. Who do you see winning the whole thing?
Wow. Well, Shannon, you're going to love this. My heart, I want the Dallas Mavericks to win the.
Wow.
Thank you. Thank you.
I like the Mavericks makeup. I like what they've done. I like that they were never impatient. I love that they built around the guy. They brought in Porzingis. That didn't really work out, so they just kept shuffling to get the right combination. Kind of reminds you of the Tim Duncan days when, you know, you bring in some players that maybe fit, maybe didn't. And then they just kind of found that really did and stuck. That's my heart. My gut tells me that it's probably going to be Golden State, but I would really love to see a Boston Celtics versus Dallas Mavericks NBA Finals. That'd be pretty cool.
That'd be way cool. Wes Perkins, man, always an outstanding phone call, man. Thanks for calling in. We appreciate it.
Appreciate y'all.
All right. Well, and Shannon, you know, Wes, there he is pulling, like me, pulling for your Dallas Mavericks. And I know he's a hardcore Spurs fan. When I get a lot of Spurs fans, I get blowback. How can you be a Spurs fan and pull for the Mavericks? We hate the Mavericks, man. It's like, you know, Spurs are currently, they're not going to win the title this year. They might next year. But so when the Spurs are out of it, I pull for Texas teams. I'm sorry. I do. And I like Luka. And I like Boban, for God's sake. I like Boban more than I like Luka. So
I will never bash you for that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Don't bash me like I bashed Scott Manziera in the previous segment. Thank you. Scott Manziera joins us at 7:05 to talk baseball and more. All right, let's get this party started. It is time for the High Five play of the day, appropriately sponsored by High Five. There are 2 High Five locations in the Austin area. They got pretty much everything you're looking for in an entertainment, eating, drinking, sports watching venue. Big screen TVs everywhere. Great food, great drinks, food specials, drink specials. A gazillion games you can play, from bowling to laser tag to axe throwing to zombie dodgeball and more. Get into one of the 2 High Five locations. You may see Shannon Salty Sweeney wielding an axe somewhere in the building, so be careful. Don't get her mad. Don't get her even salty. Speaking of Shannon, who is our high five recipient on this Taco Tuesday morning?
Our high five today goes to Buffalo Bills safety Micah Hyde. He played with the Green Bay Packers before making the jump to the Buffalo Bills in 2017. And since 2019, every offseason, he's been holding a charity softball game in which all of the proceeds are given back in some form to Western New York. Hyde's Imagine for Youth Foundation is often one of the main donation locations. And it was again this year when a $200,000 check was presented to the foundation, but a part of the proceeds following the tragedy on Saturday in Buffalo, in which an 18-year-old took to a Tops Friendly Markets, which is a local grocer there in Buffalo, and committed violent acts and left several lives lost. Micah Hyde said that there's hate in the world. You kind of erase it with love, and coming out here today and showing the community love and love to the youth, love to the community, love to the foundation. I guess that's the way to combat it, because he did consider canceling the event due to the tragedy, but felt like it was great for the community to have that kind of positive activity to go to, an activity that, as we said, gives back to Western New York. And something really cool, there were over 10,000 people in attendance, and less than 2,000 people attended all the way back in 2019 when he started. So it's getting bigger. There are giant names that were a part of it. Jordan Poyer, Josh Allen also showed up to play. So the fact that Micah Hyde not only continues to give back to his community there in Buffalo year after year with the softball game, but has the awareness to, give back to those that were affected on Saturday with such a tragedy, and to kind of, carry on and give back with love.
So amazing, Shannon, and so horribly tragic. I've never been to Buffalo, New York. When I think of Buffalo, I think of the Buffalo Bills. That's my point of reference. And I think of those Bills fans, the Bills Mafia. You're very familiar with them, who just love their team and support their team in god-awful weather conditions. I imagine people who've never been to San Antonio, probably because of the success of the Spurs, they probably think of, all right, the Alamo, the Riverwalk, and the Spurs. And that's what you know about the San Antonio community. But I can't even imagine, because this was such a racially motivated, despicable hate crime that this 18-year-old committed. This is 2022. So this guy was born in 2004. I remember 2004 like it was yesterday. I remember 2000. I remember 1998 like it was yesterday, when this kid who committed this horrible crime wasn't even born yet. And apparently he traveled over 200 miles from another location in New York. He targeted this neighborhood. He apparently looked at census data, and he wanted to find as densely populated a neighborhood with African Americans so that he could kill them. It is I'm aghast that we live in a world, and we live in a country where this can happen. And God bless Micah Hyde and everybody. You mentioned all the people who showed up in Buffalo, coming together and saying that's not us. And this kid was not from their community, but to try to begin the healing and try to accentuate the love and the care and the help for one another, and try to rebuild lives that tragically have been devastated forever. Certainly the 10 people who were killed, but beyond that, each of them have family members. They have sons and daughters and mothers and fathers and uncles and cousins and best friends and neighbors. And Shannon, I can't even imagine the horror that went on, all the more god awful when you know that this was a hate crime, that this guy was just a horrible hate-filled racist who went in there to just want to kill.
Yeah. And so once again, kudos to Micah Hyde, that Buffalo community and Bills Mafia. I mean, I'm sure that this is just kind of the tip of what we'll end up seeing out of that Bills community as they, help to bring together and move past this and do so with love, as Micah Hyde said.
My goodness. Yeah, I still, the more I hear about that story and the more I think about it, it's hard to wrap your head around it and realize, here we live in a world, most of us are normal people. Most of us are normal, good, happy people. And to know that there is that level of hatred out there among us, God, it's awful. All right. So, Shannon, again, to underscore tonight, and back to Wes's phone call for a moment, he mentioned Paolo Banchero out of Duke, Jabari Smith as the two prizes of this draft. It begins at 7 o'clock tonight, the game tonight between the Celtics and Miami, game one of the Eastern Conference Finals. 7:30 is the official start time. That usually means like a 7:40 tip-off with some pregame activities. So 7 o'clock tonight will be that draft lottery. So that should be a lot of fun to keep an eye on. And somebody pointed out as well, I mentioned David Robinson representing the Spurs in that draft lottery tonight. David Robinson is a minority owner of the Spurs. So he's not just, a great guy.
He's not just a pretty face.
Yeah,
Yes.
and he's a very pretty face. He's a very attractive man. But, but he's also, he's an investor as well. And what's cool about David, he is at so many games, at darn near every Spurs home game, which is cool. And now Manu is involved with Spurs Sports and Entertainment. We're seeing Manu now, not only at Spurs home games, but on the road as well. So going to be a lot of fun tonight. And then we get to it. And tonight it's game one, Miami, Boston. Tomorrow night will be game one, Golden State and the Dallas Mavericks. Now, Shannon, you and Jeremy in the most recent round of the playoffs. Jeremy, a Memphis Grizzlies fan, and you are a hardcore Mavericks fan. You're going to be a little more optimistic in the Western Conference Finals. Where was you? Well, I know Phoenix is going to beat us, but we're just happy to be here. How are your feelings going into this one tomorrow night?
Coming off the play that they had in that last round, I feel better. I still feel like it's Golden State's series to lose. But I don't know. The Mavs could surprise me in game one and turn that thought around. As we said, Luka, it needs to be Luka and company, not the Luka show. And, that's what I need out of my Mavericks more than anything, especially when you're coming up against, the Poole, the Splash Brothers with Jordan Poole kicking his feet there on the side, making the Splash go even more. So I feel good that they've made it this far, but I don't want to stick my neck out there. The other thing is like the stupid reverse psychology of like, well, this whole time I've been like, they're not going to go very far, and it's worked out so well.
How much of this is, it's Luka, obviously.
Yeah.
But how much of this is Jason Kidd? I was talking about Eric Spoelstra early in the show being a great coach. Is Jason Kidd becoming a great coach before our very eyes, or is he just lucky to have Luka?
I don't want to give him a definite because it is, the first, it's too early to because that's what happened. Brad Stevens with the Celtics, right? He was the next and greatest and young hot thing. And then where is he now? He's in the front office. So I don't want to, I know that Jason has had stints before coaching, and he's, coached the Nets, which was another one of his former teams. This might just be the perfect situation. And I think given the situation of the playoffs in and of itself, and that he was a part of the Dallas Mavericks during that championship run, I think there's some level of insight that he can assist with more so than others.
Coming up, we'll talk some baseball and more with Scott MANDZIARA, our baseball guru. Scott MANDZIARA next. Lots more coming up on the Chris Duel Show. Let's see. Anthony Del Toro. I saw the actual footage of the shooter showing up at the scene and start going off on these poor people. Can't believe we still deal with this in our country. Very heartbreaking and so terrible. Totally agree, Anthony. And I don't know what the answer is, man. And you look at the level of gun violence in this country compared to other countries, and other civilized countries manage to exist and their people coexist without gunning each other down with assault weapons. It's just, it's horrible. It's tragic. All right. I gotta record a spot. I'm gonna record a spot. I'm just letting you know. I'll probably do this. I got like 5 of them, so it'll probably take me multiple segments. So just assume that I'm doing that. Thanks. All right, let me do this. I'm reading new copy, so I will probably stumble a lot. So I am gonna turn my mic off and rapture you from having to listen to me stumble upon a commercial script that I have not read before. So let's see how this goes. All right, I'm going to mute for just a couple of minutes, and I'll be back with some audio here in a sec. I may give you, well, I'll just mute it. All right. Scott MANDZIARA is coming up. John Williams with a candy recall. We are your source for hockey, lacrosse, and candy recall information. Thank you, John. Nobody updates you on candy recalls like this show. Just saying. All right, where's my Scott MANDZIARA photo? Woo! There he is. So this commercial I just tried to record, and I need at least 4 of them. It's brand new copy, and it's way too long. It's like a minute 20, and it's got to be a 1-minute spot. So I got to figure out how to edit it, which is always fun. Woo! We got to get into Deshaun Watson. He is going to meet with the NFL. All right. Scott MANDZIARA, moments away. Jeremy KOLOK is calling him. We'll see if he takes our call or if he big times us. Hey, man. I'm Scott MANDZIARA. I'm busy. Yeah, John, I agree with you. A lot of similar dynamics in both of those shootings. The idiot monster in the Walmart El Paso shooting traveled from a distance to go commit that crime. So, yeah, both of them were radicalized. Exactly, Jason. This is how it begins. They start training some guy, and then they move on. Here we go. Scott MANDZIARA, ladies and gentlemen. You know him, you love him. You can't get enough of him. Let's see here. Okay. He is on the phone line. Here we go.
Is the Chris Duel Show.
Got to make sure the evil Facebook overlords don't hear our music or they'll boot us off the platform. Not today, Zuckerberg, you punk! Good morning, Mark Zuckerberg.
Now, Chris Duel.
It is a Taco Tuesday, the morning of the NBA draft lottery. Will your San Antonio Spurs have good luck tonight in the NBA draft lottery? 7 o'clock tonight on the 4-Letter Network. David Robinson, the Admiral, representing the San Antonio Spurs. Eastern Conference Finals begin tonight. Celtics, Miami Heat. Deshaun Watson, we'll get into him. He's back in the headlines, and he's going to do some talking, apparently. We'll get into that. And a lot going on in the world of baseball. Welcome in. It's the Chris Duel Show with Shannon, Salty, Sweeney on a Taco Tuesday. Jeremy KOLOK is your Soundscape stylist, and we love talking baseball and all sports. His St. Louis Blues advancing in the Stanley Cup playoffs from St. Louis. Baseball guru, sports broadcaster, former voice of University of the Incarnate Word Athletics, Scott MANDZIARA. Scott, how are you doing this morning?
Chris, I'm doing great. How are you, Shannon and Jeremy doing?
We're doing well. Scott, I must confess, I kind of disparaged you in the 6 o'clock hour because Jeremy KOLOK, our Soundscape stylist, is training another Soundscape stylist. His name is Irvin this morning. And Scott, I said, this is how it begins. You train somebody to work the board and be the Soundscape stylist. Next thing we know, Jeremy KOLOK's going to move to St. Louis and abandon the show like you did, Scott. So I apologize that I kind of, relived that memory, but you're on to greener pastures and a much happier life.
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame you, Chris. That is the road of the Soundscape stylist right now. I mean, Dave Ayler also joined me.
Yes.
Just me. So could be 3 in a row. You never know.
It's, listen, I've done Jeremy's job before, and it's nice to have someone who's capable to fill in, because goodness forbid one day he gets sick and then the whole show would be canceled if Jeremy or there wasn't a backup available. So Scott, I'm sure you get that. Scott, last time we talked, the Cincinnati Reds, the worst team in baseball, had 3 wins to their name. They've tripled that now with 9 whole wins on the season at 9-26, but they made headlines again this week when they threw a no-hitter for their game, but ultimately lost to the Pirates. How does that happen?
Somebody said that to me, Shannon. I wasn't watching the game, and I couldn't believe it. I honestly thought it was a joke at first. To have this happen to that team just adds that fuel of the fire that I was talking about, with them possibly being the worst team in baseball in history. Because to have that happen to you, man, it makes no sense. Like, how can you throw a no-hitter? And by the way, it doesn't even get the count as a no-hitter because the Pirates didn't get the bat 9 times. So you don't get credit for it. You lost. And you were at, you did nonetheless to the Pittsburgh Pirates, who have been probably the worst team in baseball for the last 2 decades. So it's really embarrassing. It's got to be even more frustrating to add to that team's frustrations this year. And I mean, like I said, it was literally one of those headlines that I couldn't believe. But in the world of sports right now, with the NBA playoffs that Chris mentioned, the draft lottery happening tonight, hockey playoffs, that thing didn't even sniff like any kind of headlines nationally like the next day, which is what's so crazy.
That's a huge point. You're right. And Scott, when I was a kid, I was kind of I was always an Astros fan, but I was also a Cincinnati Reds fan in the Big Red Machine era. That's how old I am, back when they had Johnny Bench and Pete Rose and Joe Morgan and Davey Concepcion and so many other. I mean, the whole Cincinnati Reds lineup was pretty much an all-star team. That's why they won all those games and went to so many World Series back in that era. I gotta believe there's fans in Cincinnati right now who are my age-ish who remember how great and how dominant the Cincinnati Reds once were, who must just be living in hell. As you mentioned, not only maybe historically the worst team in baseball history right now, but then again, as Shannon mentions, and you talked about, you got a no-hitter. It's like, all right, we're going to win today. We got a no-hitter, and you lose the game. I mean, are they cursed? Is this the curse of Pete Rose? We've had the curse of the Bambino. We've had curses in baseball. Scott MANDZIARA, you must know, are the Cincinnati Reds cursed for some reason?
So I don't think they're cursed. The only thing that curses them is their general manager, president of baseball operations, literally unloading their entire team this offseason. There has to be 2 fan bases that are more frustrated than any team in baseball right now: the Cincinnati Reds and the Oakland Athletics, because both of those teams were playoff caliber teams the last couple of years. And in this offseason, during the lockout, they unloaded their best players to go somewhere else. They acquired prospects. They said, let's wait a couple of years. These prospects will be good for us. It's very similar to the way the Miami Marlins did it when they had Giancarlo Stanton, Christian Yelich, and Marcell Ozuna. So obviously for the Marlins, after 5 years, it's finally paid off because they're a pretty good team. They got one of the best rotations in baseball. But for the Cincinnati Reds, it's so hard to be a fan of a team that does that. And, at the beginning of the season, we talked about this last time, the general manager, the president was like, well, what do you think? Should we just move somewhere else? Like, not a great joke to make when you have only won 3 wins so far that season. That's what's really frustrating is that you trade all of your best players. They send a couple of guys to the Mariners. You send the Athletics and Matt Olson to the Braves after they lose Freddie Freeman, Sean Manaea to the Padres. It is an absolute dumpster fire, and there's no more frustrating feeling than being a fan of a team to watch your team do that.
Well, a team that's easy to love and also easy to hate, depending on what side you're on. The Houston Astros went on a lengthy run and win streak last week. It came to an end over the weekend when they dropped a game to the Nationals, and last night they dropped a game to the Boston Red Sox 6-3. And during that game, the pitcher hit the deck of the mound with a leg injury. Astros veteran Jake Odorizzi. We're used to seeing pitchers needing to be taken out because of an arm injury, right? We're all very familiar with Tommy John surgery and what that looks like. But how often do we see pitchers going down with leg injuries while they're on the mound? What motion tends to cause that?
It's concerning because, like you said, it's not very common. There's a lot of things that can go wrong there because, and every single one of those injuries that's in your lower half or your lower body injury is usually serious. So you have, your hamstrings, could be something with your knee or ankle. All of those are so crucial when you're talking about pitching. And when I say serious, I'm not saying Tommy John where you're out for the whole year, but you're out for a significant amount of time. Because when you're pitching, every single part of your lower half is being used to explode off the mound to try to throw, as hard as you can or hit your right location. So it's definitely concerning if you're talking about one of those areas. And, Odorizzi's been great so far for the Astros this year. And, I was looking at some stuff the other day, and it's been so cool to see so many of these older pitchers just still dominating, like Justin Verlander, who's 39, Adam Wainwright's still in the league, he's 40+, and Clayton Kershaw is starting to get a little old. But that entire generation, you saw Johnny Cueto pitched yesterday for the White Sox and threw a shutout. So, it's awesome to see these older pitchers still being able to dominate because once these guys start leaving the game, I'm gonna feel real old.
Welcome to my world. He is our baseball guru, Scott MANDZIARA. And Scott, before last night, obviously, as Shannon mentions, the injury to Astros pitcher Jake Odorizzi and the loss at Fenway to the Boston Red Sox 6-3. Before that, and you mentioned Verlander, who was pitching like a madman. I think his ERA is down to something like 1.33, and now at age 37. Astros had won 12 out of 13 with that one loss over the weekend to the Washington Nationals. Your thoughts on what the Astros have been able to do? You lose George Springer, you lose Carlos Correa, dirtbag Garrett Cole signs with the damn Yankees. But still the Astros, still relevant, still, a contender, still demonstrating. I think that 11-game win streak was the longest of Dusty Baker's managerial career. That's how significant that was. Your thoughts on the Astros seemingly able to keep on keeping on after losing some pretty big talent over the last couple of years?
Chris, it's been remarkable what the front office of the Astros has been able to do, losing that kind of talent that you just listed. Also, Dusty Baker just putting players in positions to succeed, and other guys really stepping up. Yordan Alvarez is, one home run behind the league lead. We talked about Jeremy Pena before opening day, and he's played really well for them so far, filling in that stopgap with Carlos Correa. Heck, I texted you a couple days ago. The Astros, I think, were playing the Nationals. They're up 5-0, like 14 pitches in.
Oh,
Offense has just been in fuego right now, and they were on that nice win streak. So it's pretty crazy to see how the Astros are continuing to win because they really haven't been in the headlines the last couple of years of, hey, they just acquired so and so, or hey, they just signed a long-term extension with so and so. It's like, nope, George Springer left. Nope, Garrett Cole left. Like everybody that you had mentioned. It's pretty crazy to see them keep winning. And this division right now, they're going to be in a battle with the Angels. And selfishly, I've really wanted the Angels to win that division so I can see Mike Trout in the postseason. And I think that they might actually have figured it out this year. So I'm looking forward to the Astros and the Angels battling it out for 162.
The Savannah Bananas, which have become a TikTok phenomenon with their videos of just how fun their games are and how crazy they are, because obviously they take some leeway with things that they do, you know, performing on stilts and such as. But the MLB apparently taking a close look at that team as they've seen their attendance and television ratings drop, trying to take some things that the Savannah Bananas are doing and try and move that over to the MLB. But of what you know of the Savannah Bananas, what might be something fun that they do that the MLB could actually bring over to their side of things?
Oh man, it's so crazy when you start diving into either minor league baseball or for the Savannah Bananas sake, like other independent leagues. It's so awesome. I got to work in one of those independent leagues back in 2018 for a summer, and they just do things so much different because, like you said, you are trying to drive attendance. It's a lot of stuff that's pretty unique. Like, for example, sometimes in rain delays, they'll have guys doing like going across the tarp and doing slip and slides, or they'll have guys that are literally standing out in the rain, like having like stare down competitions, and we've seen that before with the national anthem and stuff. As far as something that they could bring towards the MLB, I just find it so hard to believe that like many MLB teams are gonna like do anything that's fun. I mean, did you guys see Max Scherzer like literally would not stop warming up, so like a kid couldn't throw out the first pitch because he was so zoned in. I mean, these players that are in the MLB, like when it's game day and stuff, they just get into a different mode, a different mindset. So I mean, these guys, a lot of them, aren't Max Scherzer where they can do whatever the heck they want. They're fighting for roster spots. So it's just, I think there's a very low chance that the MLB could really adopt anything. And unfortunately, the MLB kind of has that rep of like the NFL's people call it the no fun league, kind of the same thing in the MLB.
He is our baseball go-to guy, Scott MANDZIARA. In a moment, we'll ask him about his St. Louis Blues in the National Hockey League because nobody talks hockey more than Shannon, Jeremy, and I do. We are your source for all things hockey and lacrosse on this show. But Scott, your beloved St. Louis Cardinals on Sunday, they beat up on the San Francisco Giants 15-6, and in the ninth inning, a very interesting pitcher takes the mound, Albert Pujols. And Ed, we're getting a question for you from our live video feed. Ed Shannon wants to ask you, were the San Francisco Giants stealing signs when Albert Pujols was pitching? He says it sure looked like they knew what pitch was coming. Talk to us a little bit about Albert Pujols pitching for the Cardinals the other day.
That's a heck of a question. Unfortunately, I think Pujols has got one pitch, and that's a four-seam fastball at about 45 miles an hour. Besides that, that's a great question, Ed. Oh my gosh, how crazy was that, Chris? On Sunday Night Baseball, nonetheless, you're on national TV, and I watched some of the network shows yesterday, and a lot of guys that have been around baseball a long time, and MLB Network were like, "Oh, I hate the move," blah blah blah. Like that is like what Shannon was mentioning, something that you can do that's fun. Like that's within those rights. Sending Albert Pujols out to the mound when you're up 15 runs, and there's two sides of the fence you can be on here. I'm sure Giants players or some of them are kind of like, "Come on, man! Like really, that's so embarrassing." And then the other side, you're kind of like, "Well, don't like it, play better." So don't go down 13 runs. You don't have to worry about Albert Pujols coming in the ninth trying to close the door. But I thought it was amazing. It's so cool. Did you see he's the only guy with 600 plus home runs to appear in a game as a pitcher?
Whoa.
Babe Ruth.
Wow. That's a nice trivia question for a bar bet.
Company.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that you see more history, and that crowd that is like, "Oh my gosh, why is Pujols in the game?" Those are typically the people that are all about history. So it kind of evens out for me, but it's great. It's great for baseball. I'm actually a little surprised that we didn't have more stuff in the news about a Giants player saying some quote about how ridiculous it was, but I'm really glad we did it.
Talking baseball and now moving on to another sport with Scott MANDZIARA. Scott is a big hockey guy. In fact, when his St. Louis Blues won the Stanley Cup a couple of years ago, it was Scott MANDZIARA doing the post-game show live on the radio, celebrating with the city of St. Louis on the air. And St. Louis Blues still alive, Scott, as you well know, moving into the West second round. They take on the Avalanche tonight in Colorado, in Denver at Ball Arena, where the Nuggets also play. That'll be the late game tonight on TNT. Avalanche won 56 games in the regular season. Blues won 49. But Scott, as you've talked about before with me on the radio, hockey, if you can get hot come playoff time, you can make some noise. Do you have a feeling the St. Louis Blues team could get hot at the right time and make some noise in these playoffs and maybe win this series against the Avalanche?
It's gonna be tough, man. I like to look at the Vegas line, kind of see where Vegas leads in terms of like giving your team a chance, and it's not good. But I will say, being hot right now, the Blues have won 3 in a row entering this one. And they were dead in the water last series against the Wild. They had a lot of defensive injuries. They were down 2-1 heading into Game 4. They had multiple guys from their minor league team playing in that following game for Game 4. So it was really an opportunity for the Wild to effectively end the season and take a 3-1 series lead. But like we've seen in the NHL playoffs, which have been fantastic, by the way, the Rangers overcame a 3-1 series deficit against the Pittsburgh Penguins. So the Blues rattled 3 off in a row, won it in 6, won it at home. They're buzzing right now. But the Avalanche, they're the best team in the playoffs right now. You can kind of take away the record. They're just extremely fast. They're talented. You get the home ice advantage. And some of these things, Chris, that I really take a look at is like, your record at home this year in the NHL. It's absolutely absurd. The Avalanche at home this year are 32-5-4.
Wow.
Again, 32-5-4. They've lost 5 games in regulation in an entire season. Just for some quick note here. Right now, the Astros have already lost 4 games at home this year. They played 13 games. And they're leading their division.
Yep.
When you're playing at home, you're talking about Colorado. It's just such a difficult place to play with the altitude, things like that. So it's going to be a heck of a series, I hope. But yeah, like you mentioned, 8:30 third time. Don't love that.
Finally, Scott, speaking of playoffs, just want to get your thoughts. These final 4 teams left in the NBA playoffs. Golden State against Dallas tomorrow night in the Western Conference tonight. Boston against Miami. Of these final 4 teams, who do you think goes all the way to win the NBA championship?
Oh, man, I am rooting for the Boston Celtics. Jason Tatum is a St. Louis guy. I actually got to broadcast him when he was in high school back in 2016, which is crazy. That was only 6 years ago the kid was in high school. Definitely pulling for him to come out on top against the Heat. I think on the Western side, it's probably going to be Golden State. I actually wouldn't hate seeing Dallas there, though. I think they're just such an exciting story. And how the heck they beat Phoenix by like 50 points in a row into Game 7 will just never add up to me. But I do think Golden State makes it there. It's going to be a heck of an NBA Finals, whichever way it is. I just love seeing new teams in there. But you guys obviously have been following it much more diligently than me. So I'd love to know your guys' predictions there.
Yeah, I just think Golden State, because of that playoff and championship experience, Steph Curry, Draymond Green, Klay Thompson, Steve Kerr, I think, Golden State is the team to beat until I'm going to believe it's them until somebody proves it otherwise.
I love it. I agree.
All right, Scott MANDZIARA, always outstanding, sir. Love all your sports takes, but you really give us a lot of insight into baseball from someone who just is totally locked in and just has such a passion and a depth of knowledge of baseball. Scott's a great follow on Twitter at @SMANDZIARA2. If you can't figure out how to spell MANDZIARA, just look at our Ticket 760 or AM 1300 The Zone Twitter pages today. We've got direct links to Scott's Twitter handle, so you can just go follow him there. Great stuff, Scott. We'll do it again real soon, man. Thanks for taking the time. We appreciate it.
Sounds good. Irvin, Jeremy, Shannon, Chris, have a great day.
Wow, he remembers Irvin. That's what kind of a pro Scott MANDZIARA is. He hears Irvin's name once at the top of the broadcast. I had already
impressive.
forgotten Irvin's name on this broadcast, and
Oh,
I'm working with Irvin, and I'm kidding. I think Irvin. Thank you. Coming up, Shannon's Salty Shakedown on a Taco Tuesday. We've got sports history, sports birthdays, and more. And we will dive hardcore into the National Football League as well. Lots of players making headlines on and off the field in the NFL. We'll bring it all to you. Don't go anywhere. We're hanging out with you till 9. Thanks for hanging out with us on the Chris Duel Show. Scott Mandziara, always outstanding. Dude is good. Let me see here. I am going to click there. All right, I got to record some more spots. So I am going to go mute for a moment, but I'll be back. I could give you some Jerry Jones to look at for your viewing pleasure. Or maybe Oscar De La Hoya. Or maybe Walter Pasacreta. Anything's possible. Okay. Here we go again. I got like a minute 20 of a script that it needs to get down to 60 seconds. And it's not easy. First world problems. Stereo. So I'm going to mute myself and I'll be back in a sec. All right. Fun. Okay, so I got 3 there. Here we come. Here we come. Okay, those are different. Okay, good.
Let's get the Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney. Find Chris and Salty on Twitter at Chris Duel and at Shannon B. Sweeney.
Little Jimi Hendrix, Little Wing, one of his classics. A great cover by Sting. Sting's version of Little Wing is pretty amazing as well. Sting was a Hendrix fan. He talks about being in the audience, seeing Jimi Hendrix when he was a kid, and would later on and go on and have great success with the Police and then as a solo act. And his cover of Little Wing, if you ever get a chance, is pretty amazing. Welcome back. It is the Chris Duel Show with Shannon, Salty, Sweeney. Jeremy KOLOK is your Soundscape stylist, with Irvin Magic Johnson looking over his shoulder, trying to take his job away from him and send him to St. Louis, along with Scott MANDZIARA and Dave Ayler. That's where all Soundscape stylists eventually go. They go off to St. Louis after they've done their time on this show.
All
Shannon
dogs go to heaven.
Salty Shakedown on a Taco Tuesday is coming up. We will dive more into the NBA playoffs, the NBA draft lottery with David Robinson tonight, representing the San Antonio Spurs, NFL talk on and off the field. We just talked some Major League Baseball, Astros, and more with Scott MANDZIARA, one of the many fallen Soundscape stylists who defected to St. Louis. But I'm not bitter. I'll get over it. I'll let it go. Thank you. Exactly. Thank you, Coach Gundy. Before the Salty Shakedown, how about some sports birthdays? And this day in sports history, May 17th, 1939, the first televised baseball game is broadcast on NBC. Princeton defeated Columbia 2-1 in exciting Ivy League action. On this day in 1970, Hank Aaron becomes the 9th player to get 3,000 hits. On this day in 2019, Brooks Koepka fires a 5 under 65 to set a new record for the lowest 36-hole score in a golf major at the PGA Championship at Bethpage State Park. He had a 7-stroke lead 36 holes into that tournament And on this day in 2020, Michael Jordan's autographed Air Nike trainers from 1985 sell for a record $560,000 in an online auction. That's your sports history. How about some sports birthdays? Born on this day in 1931, basketball coach of the Cleveland Cavaliers, the New Jersey Nets, the Chicago Bulls, and the San Antonio Spurs, Stan Albeck. Stan Albeck, his family still lives in San Antonio. Born in 1931 in Chinoa, Illinois, Stan Albeck passed away last year in 2021. A great guy, a great family, Stan Albeck. Born on this day in 1956, boxer Sugar Ray Leonard. He won Olympic gold in 1976. He was born in Rocky Mount, North Carolina. Born on this day in 1982, featured on yesterday's Salty Shakedown, a 6-time NBA All-Star, NBA Finals MVP in 2007, NBA champion in 2003, 2005, 2007. Tony Parker, baby. Born on this day in 1982 in Bruges, Belgium. And finally, born on this day in 1985, Matty Ice, quarterback, Boston College, Atlanta Falcons, and now the Indianapolis Colts. Matty Ice, Matt Ryan, born on this day in 1985. Them's be your sports birthdays and your sports history. And now, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, friends, Romans, countrymen, farm animals, pole assassins, and monkeys, here it is, your Taco Tuesday Salty Shakedown.
As we know, I'm in Houston here for a couple of weeks, and with that is local news. And local news means local commercial spots, and I've seen plenty of them featuring Houston athletes, Astros all over the place. Even Kyle Tucker, who a well-known Astro, but he's no Jose Altuve, has got a commercial himself, and then plenty of Astros fan commercials by the one and only Mattress Mac. And as we know, he is currently offering a promotion at his furniture store, in which you spend at least $3,000. If the Astros win the World Series, he will double your money. He will give you your money back and double it, which is an outstanding promotion. He's done things in the past where if you bought a certain mattress and the Astros won, that mattress would ultimately become free. You get a refund on the money you did spend. Well, you got to cover the cost there if the Astros do win. He's got plenty of money, but I don't know that he has enough to cover all the furniture people are buying. So he has officially placed his bets for the Astros to get his money back. And Chris, there's two of them. The first one was Caesars Sportsbook, $3 million for the Astros to win the World Series. And Chris, if that one hits, it'll be the biggest payout of all during Caesars history at $30 million. That combined with his other bet of $1 million for the Astros to win it all at WinBet app. So that payout as at 12-1. So in total, if the Astros win the World Series, he stands to win about $42 million. Now, as we know, Mattress Mac has been, known to bet, and he most recently bet on the Kentucky Derby. He bet hard on the favorite, which moved the odds even more so in Epicenter's favorite. Ultimately did not win. It'll be interesting to see if he bets on the Preakness this week to maybe make a little bit of that money back. But Chris, I can't imagine throwing this type of money around. I get he's got to cover costs here, and then that maybe to him, it's like betting a quarter. But to throw that kind of money around and do so publicly, what life is this guy living? Man, he's a phenomenon. And, obviously we're pulling for Mattress Mac because we want the Houston Astros to win the next World Series. And I'd love to see, Caesar's Palace take a little bath with their largest, have to pay out $30 million to Mattress Mac. The guy's already a celebrity. He's already a minor legend. This would, if the Astros could win it, this would just further entrench his legendary status. So hopefully the Astros, who have been very successful until last night in Boston, hopefully the Astros keep on keeping on and contend for that World Series. And this makes it even more exciting. Interesting that he placed this bet, Chris, during the Astros win streak. They had yet to drop that win streak. This bet was placed over the weekend. So they were on that hot win streak going for 12. The day he placed this bet, you wonder if their timing had a lot to do with when he decided to go ahead and place the bet rather than waiting until maybe the end of the season. But that's something to keep in mind as we get closer to postseason baseball. And should the Astros make a push, who knows, he could put down more money somewhere else along the way. Our second story today, Chris, I sent this to you and Jeremy yesterday. Scottie Pippen, who made headlines once again during the Michael Jordan 10-part docuseries. He wasn't happy with the way things turned out, some of the editing that was involved, thanks to Michael Jordan. And since then, they've kind of been beefing, and a lot of that has to do with Scottie Pippen. We both kind of feel that it's because he's trying to get himself out there, have a little more notoriety. So much so that he's got his liquor that he's promoting. And as we recall, we talked about the logo is just a picture of his hand on the bottle. I believe it is of bourbon. And he's been promoting that for a while now, but this week he is promoting it in the Lone Star State. No appearances in San Antonio, but today he'll be in my neck of the woods in Houston at a Specs from 4:30 to 6. Tomorrow he was going to be in Austin at a Total Wine from 5:30 to 7, and Thursday in Dallas from 4:30 to 6 p.m. Now, Chris, as I said, there's no San Antonio on this schedule. Bastard. I don't have plans to see him today. I don't think I could make it. And I'm trying to decide, is that something that a lot of people are going to show up to? Or are people over Scottie Pippen and maybe they'll be going to the liquor store anyway and, oh, there's Scottie. I wonder what he's doing here. Let's go say hello.
First of all, a diss on San Antonio. So curse you, Scottie. Because you're Scottie Pippen. You played in the NBA. So what do? On your tour of Texas, you go through the NBA cities: Houston, the Rockets, Dallas, the Mavericks, San Antonio, the Spurs. It would seem to me that a lot of fans who saw you play in the Hemisphere Arena and the Alamo Dome would come out and buy your bourbon. So no, he skips San Antonio completely, goes to Austin, Houston, and Dallas. So Scottie, first of all, I never was a big fan. Second of all, you did look like a dirt bag in The Last Dance. Third of all, he then, a few months ago, he accused Phil Jackson of being racist, which is insane. So, Scottie, I hope a lot of people don't show up to your Specs appearances. I'm not feeling the Scottie Pippen love, Shannon.
Yeah. By the way, that bourbon, it's called Digits Bourbon.
Woo. How about I don't want to go in? How about my knee hurts, so I'm not going to go in crunch time. Well, that'd be a great name for the bourbon.
There you go. But for those interested, Scottie Pippen could be near you this week. I don't know. Maybe he'll make a surprise visit to San Antonio, but probably not. All right, Last night, there was no NBA games on because we are getting ready for the Western and Eastern Conference Finals. That kicks off tonight with the Celtics and the Heat in Game 1 at Miami. But LeBron James, I have a theory that this was his team saying, listen, there's no games on tonight. So at 7:30 on the dot, which is when this first tweet went out, you're going to hold a Q&A session. You're going to grab all the attention. You're going to get all the headlines. We got to keep the narrative moving. We got to put you back in the good graces of people that you may have rubbed the wrong way during the season. And there's no basketball on tonight. So it can all be about you. And we know LeBron loves him some LeBron. So he said, okay, so at 7:30 on the dot last night, exactly. He said Q&A ? And away he went. I will give him his credit. He did answer a lot of questions. And he took a lot of time to do it. People were not shy about some of the questions that they asked. One person asked about his I Promise school. He did admit that it was a huge blow with COVID because that school is very much about getting those kids into the classroom, and COVID was obviously an issue with that. Someone asked him cake or pie. Chris, I asked that question to you before I reveal LeBron's answer.
Cake or pie? It's close, but I got to go cake.
Okay, good. He said cake as well. I am also of the cake. His favorite movies, Gladiator and The Godfather. Someone asked him why he hasn't signed any artists. He said, well, I don't have a record label, but he claims to have the ear for music. I don't know if I buy that so much. I think he's just friends with a lot of rappers. But Chris, what do you think about, LeBron taking over the headlines on a Monday night, no NBA playoff games? LeBron, even Tom Brady jumping in, asking, you and me, 5 rounds, ice hockey shootout, who wins? LeBron, of course, saying me, but barely, maybe swinging from my knees, though.
Wow. Well, first of all, the elephant in the room, why didn't anybody ask him, dude, did you try to get Michelle Beadle fired, as she alleges on a podcast just a week or two ago? Interesting that LeBron would take to Twitter. My God, if Brady then asks a question, you talk about superstardom colliding there. That's a big deal. But, and again, Shannon, I like LeBron. A lot of people hate LeBron, I think, for irrational reasons. I did not like the Michelle Beadle revelation. If indeed that's true, I'd like to hear him address it. But that's cool. I didn't know about this till I pay attention to Twitter. I did not know there was a live Q&A. I might have jumped in there and asked the Michelle Beadle question. I'd have probably been blocked by LeBron after asking that question. But very, interesting.
Yeah, I didn't run through his mentions to see what questions were asked that he either did not see or decided to not answer. As we said, pie or cake, those were some of the hard-hitting questions he did answer, but I got to give kudos to him and his team for making note of the lack of scheduled games and saying 7:30 is our prime time. Let's go ahead and hold a Q&A. And now pie or cake, Jason Paniagua on our live feed saying pie better than cake. So if we just started a debate, go for it, because I will die on the hill that is cake is better than pie. There it is, today's salty shakedown.
Outstanding salty shakedown. And again, if you want to make the case for pie or cake, one of the ways you can do it is the free iHeartRadio app. You can leave a message and you can defend cake or pie. I like them both. I'm just slightly cake in general. Most cakes taste better to me than most pies. Jeremy KOLOK, pie or cake, sir? LeBron, Shannon, and I say cake. What say you, sir?
I say cake.
Yes.
There you go.
We're in a unanimous agreement on this show.
Yeah. So pretty much everyone who says pie is just wrong.
Exactly. Jason Paniagua, you're very, very wrong. So, and again, Shannon, I am holding out hope. My dream is that the Spurs draft Bronny James, son of LeBron James, and it is widely known that LeBron wants to play on the same team with Bronny James. So the Spurs, with their 3 draft picks, and tonight, who knows? It's the NBA draft lottery at 7:00 tonight. Maybe the Spurs get lucky again, get a really good draft pick. And then, the team gets really, really better this year, goes to the playoffs, hopefully go deep in the playoffs. And then I think, is it the next year, Jeremy and Shannon? I think it's the year after this one. It might be 2 years out. Then Bronny is eligible for the NBA draft. We get Bronny. LeBron comes here with a sweetheart salary, just wants to play with his son. We know LeBron likes Pop, and Pop likes LeBron. We make LeBron an assistant coach. We make him a player coach, Pop's lead assistant. It could be beautiful. And we go on and we win the title with Bronny and LeBron in San Antonio.
You mentioned that one of the questions he did answer last night was, you 100% plan on playing with Bronny? He said, that's the plan, God willing.
Whoa! Spurs, baby. R.C. Buford, are you listening? Brian Wright, are you listening? Come on. I love it. I would, and watch, and all these Spurs fans who hate LeBron James, watch how quickly they would flip. Because I used to hate Deion Sanders when he was a San Francisco 49er before he became a Dallas Cowboy. I couldn't stand Deion Sanders. As soon as the Cowboys got Deion, prime time. I love Deion Sanders now.
If LeBron came to the Spurs, do you want him in number 6 or number 23?
Ooh, now 6, I believe, was Avery Johnson, and I believe 6 is up there in the rafters.
I was going to ask.
So I think he'd have to be 23, unless Bruce Bowen gave LaMarcus Aldridge number 12. So I think Avery Johnson could give LeBron number 6 to wear.
Okay.
So, woo. Speaking of, and I don't think we have time for that. I was going to tell a quick. So, there's some people out there who think the Spurs should retire Kawhi Leonard's number someday. Maybe not now, but someday. That Spurs 50-year promo video they released over the weekend, in addition to their 50 50th anniversary logo in that like 3-4 minute video of their 50 years of Spurs history. And Don Harris, our good friend from News 4, pointed this out. Not one frame of Kawhi Leonard. I mean, here he was a big part of that 2014 championship and that 2013 run to the finals in their video history. Not one frame of Kawhi Leonard. I'm just saying.
Yeah, that's an interesting question to pose. Yeah. I don't think so.
No, man, you are Judas. Now, I've forgiven Judas, but you were Judas, man. You betrayed us. All right. A little more Little Wing by Jimi Hendrix on the way out. Coming up, we got a lot to get into in the National Football League. Let's talk some Deshaun Watson. Antonio Brown is in the news. Jerry Jones back in the news. Let's dive into the greatest sport on the face of this earth, the National Football League, NBA playoffs, and more. She is Shannon Salty Sweeney. He is Jeremy KOLOK alongside Irvin looking over his shoulder. Jimi Hendrix with the tunes. It's the Chris Duel Show. Hey, John Williams. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us and the world will be as one. With LeBron James and Bronny as Spurs winning the title. Get my Bronny jersey, my Spurs Bronny jersey. Wonder what number Bronny's going to wear. Jeremy's telling me Bronny will be eligible in 2024. So we got to wait 2 more years for Bronny. So we got to really build up the Spurs and then add the final 2 pieces, Bronny and LeBron. Then we'll be set. Okay. Now I got to edit these spots that I recorded. Come on, John Williams. Get on the Bronny love train. There's room for you on the Bronny love train. All right, I'm going to get some ice for my iced tea. As you can see, and I've got more iced tea in the bottle, but I need more ice, baby, for my iced tea. I'll be back. See if I can get Mike Taylor to sit in for me. Here he is, ladies and gentlemen. The man, the myth, the legend. You know him, you love him. I don't know why there's always a glare. I try to give you Mike Taylor without the glare. All right, that's better. Back in a sec. Ronnie James. I just heard Brian Gann do the weather forecast for San Antonio. Heard it out in the hallway. He's on WOAI. The forecast high 100 degrees today. Okay, I need to. Okay, now I saved that. What I got to do is find one of these. I got my ice. Ice, baby. Okay, give me one of those. You hear the tag. Two 593-4303 in Austin and Round Rock. 512-593-4303. That's 593-4303. QC Kinetics. All right, so now I need to save the tag. 512-593-4303. 593. Whoops. Sorry, you have to listen to it. Now 512-593-4303. Kinetics now 51. Check that. Five 512-593-4303. 512-593-4303. In Austin and Round Rock, 512-593-4303. That's 593-4303. QC Kinetics. What is up, Robert Browning? Okay. Save as. Nice. Go. Now I need to
The future will be amazing.
Still too long.
But what about today?
It's too long. Station 512.
The future will be great, but today is made from Duel. All you have to do is get in a Nissan and drive. 2023 Aria and Z not yet available for purchase. Accepted availability is for 2023 Z with also 2023 Aria.
Love the mocha cereal.
Too bad my budget doesn't.
Sarah, don't give it up. State Farm has options to get you a surprisingly great rate.
Thanks, Jake. Next round's on me.
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Call or go to statefarm.com.
pain relief. QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in these cutting-edge, all-natural options. Patient satisfaction reports are incredible. Yes, you can get real relief from pain with no surgery, no drugs, no downtime. Stop putting it off. Call QC Kinetics now and learn more. All right. Here we go. Woo! Woo!
This is the Chris Duel Show.
I have to cut the music a little bit for our evil Facebook overlords.
Now, Chris Duel.
It is Taco Tuesday. You know the drill. You know what your duty is. You know what your dharma is, as the Hindus would say. Eat tacos. It's your job. Triple-digit temperatures today across South and Central Texas. Thank you, Coach Gundy. It is the Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney, Jeremy KOLOK, your Soundscape stylist, training for his escape to St. Louis, where all of our Soundscape stylists eventually wind up, as he is training Irvin on the motherboard of the Starship Enterprise. Thank you very much. Shannon, I don't know if you've seen you're in Houston this week. Normally you come to us from Austin. We are in San Antonio, Jeremy and Irvin and I, and triple digits today across South and Central Texas. I don't know what the forecast is in Houston, but I do remember this, Shannon. I used to go cover Houston Texans training camp. Mm-hmm. And the morning practices would start at 8 in the morning. We would be out there at 8 in the morning in midsummer in Houston. And with that Houston humidity, whatever you were wearing, and we were just radio guys. The players are out there in training camp working out, just standing on the sideline in Houston, 8 o'clock in the morning. You are drenched in sweat, in perspiration. Your clothes are just absolutely drenched. Are you feeling that Houston humidity with the time you've been there already?
Yes, quite simply. I did venture out one night, and it was actually very pleasant. I think because it's been so dry lately that when it was cool, my fingers and toes tend to swell up in the humidity. I'm looking today. The high says 94, but the humidity right now, 85%.
Oh, my God. That's like...
I don't go outside often, Chris.
Wow.
An indoor person.
Is 85%... I think is that normal for Houston? Or see, I thought you were going to say 70% humidity or 68% humidity, 85% humidity. Wow.
Is that a lot? Feels like a lot.
God. I mean, San Antonio is relatively, is kind of humid, but not Houston humid. That Houston is like oppressively humid. Yeah. You want to just, dive into a swimming pool and stay there all day.
Am I the only one whose fingers and toes swell in humidity? And like if I walk around too much or use my hands too much, to get really sore, like arthritis?
I just sweat like a pig. Jeremy, do your fingers and toes swell when it's humid?
No, maybe I haven't spent enough time in Houston though, Shannon. I might
blow up.
I'm sure there's somebody out there listening who is dealing with the same conditions you deal with when it gets so humid.
Now, our good friend Robert Browning, who joins us from Japan, from Tokyo, Japan, I believe is where he is this morning. By the way, he's getting ready to climb Mount Fuji he tells us, and we'll talk to him probably on this show before he makes that attempt. But Robert Browning on the live video feed says summer humidity levels in Japan reach and maintain 90+% for about 6 weeks. My God, that is just now, Shannon, I got to ask you. So you've spent a few days in Houston. You're going to be there a little longer. You're an Austinite, a Longhorn. You live in Austin. You lived a year in San Antonio. You've been to Dallas. You got family ties to Dallas. You're a Mavericks fan. How do you rate Houston among the San Antonio major cities? You've got, obviously you're an Austin person. There's Austin, San Antonio, Dallas, and Houston. How do you like the city of Houston?
Well, given the circumstances, I haven't ventured out a lot, but it's growing on me. The other night we were like, all right, we're going to do takeout, and we started Yelping, and there's so many local Houston spots that all just look incredible. I didn't realize it was such a foodie town, I guess. And even though I have the appetite of a 5-year-old, I do like trying new restaurants. So that's difficult. I mean, it's almost overwhelming. But I've been to, a couple of the bars. I don't know if you have them in Houston or in San Antonio, but Little Woodrow's.
We do have one Little Woodrow off.
So there's a handful of them in Austin, but there's one here that is just, it's giant, it's beautiful, it's all turf. There's swinging chairs, the bar is fantastic. They've got all the beverages you could ever desire. And then on Thursdays they do turtle racing. And I don't know if you can bet on them, but I do want to, probably next week. My last week, I want to go see turtle racing.
How can you have turtle racing and not bet on the turtles? That's I gotta believe.
But disappointed that I can only see that at a Little Woodrow's in Houston and not in the Austin area, because that just sounds like fun to me.
Well, maybe you can then go to the Austin area, Little Woodrow's, and say, "Hey, man, I was in Houston. They got turtle racing. Why not here?"
Yeah, probably because the Austin Little Woodrow's are actually little, and this one is gigant.
Wow. So it's a big Woodrow's.
Yeah.
In Houston. All right. Well, Shannon and Jeremy, speaking of Houston, he used to be the quarterback for the Houston Texans. He is now property of the Cleveland Browns on a couple of levels. Deshaun Watson is in the news. The first thing before we talk about his upcoming meetings with the powers that be in the National Football League, Deshaun Watson, if you're one of his teammates, especially if you're a skill player on that Cleveland Browns offense, Deshaun Watson making a kind of a cool little offer for you to come work out with him. Shannon, where would Deshaun Watson and his new Cleveland Brown teammates be working out these days?
Yeah, offense only. But if you are on the offense, he's wanting to bond and work out with his team in a fun and cool place. So he's treating them all to the Bahamas this weekend, where he also has a field awaiting them, so they can get some workouts in. Baker Mayfield invited, but choosing not to go. He's staying back, working on rehabbing that shoulder and hoping that he gets traded out of Cleveland. But just kind of interesting timing for Deshaun. Again, I am in Houston. I've been watching the local news, and Deshaun very much still a story here, as if he was still part of that Houston Texans team, because they want answers. They want to know what the NFL is going to do. They want to know what his schedule for the season is going to look like. And they were talking last night, even if he gets suspended 8 games, he will still be available when the Texans take on the Browns this next season. So the Texans still very involved in the Houston Watson stuff, at least from the outside looking in now.
Well, and you bring up Baker Mayfield, Shannon, my goodness. And I mean, it makes sense, because you don't know what Deshaun Watson's going to get. Even though Baker Mayfield's not a happy camper, I think he's finding out the hard way that his market value is not what he thought it was. So if you're the Cleveland Browns, I would think you keep Baker Mayfield around. It would be probably an ugly training camp, but Baker Mayfield, I think if Deshaun Watson is out 6 or 8 weeks serving a suspension or more, I think the NFL should suspend Deshaun Watson for a year, but we'll see what they do. But if I'm Baker Mayfield, I want to prove, and he was injured last year. If I'm Baker Mayfield, I want to prove to the world and to the NFL that I am a damn good quarterback. It's kind of what Jimmy G was doing last year in San Francisco. He's still there right now. He understood that they were going to move on from him, but it would benefit him and behoove him to perform very, very well for the 49ers. And he certainly did against the Cowboys, or at least played efficiently enough to beat the Cowboys. So it's going to be fascinating to see what the Browns do with Baker. I think they're maybe going to keep him. And it's going to be interesting to see Baker's because if Baker says, no, I don't want to play, A, that's a breach of contract. And B, you're demonstrating what people are already saying about you is you're a problem child and you don't work well with your franchise and you don't honor your contract. So it's almost like a no-win for Baker. Baker would have to play. He would have to be a good guy, and he would have to try to perform well for a team he now doesn't like, the franchise anyway, the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, thanks to the narrative, Baker doesn't have a ton of cards to play. Interesting about this Deshaun trip, taking his teammates to the Bahamas. It's very similar to last year, Baker Mayfield inviting all of those offensive teammates down to Austin to hang out in the city, show them around, and do some, outside of the team organization workouts. And everyone really, they applauded him for that. But obviously, it wasn't enough team camaraderie and not enough done in that short stint to, build back up those relationships. Jarvis Landry now heading to the Saints. Obviously, Odell Beckham Jr. has moved on, just winning a Super Bowl with the Rams. So I can't imagine what mentally Baker Mayfield is going through, seeing this guy who already got the giant contract, which is why he can take them to the Bahamas and not just invite them to his hometown to do these workouts, get on their good side. And like you said, Baker's kind of in a hard spot. If the opportunity does come about for him to play for the Browns this year, does he sit out and say no, or does he see that as an opportunity to put on a show, get in the good graces of maybe some of those upper brass for Cleveland, who could maybe push a little harder than I imagine they're pushing right now to get him traded and to get him traded to a situation that he'd be happy with. But, Baker Mayfield, I guess the best thing he can do is not go to the Bahamas, stay behind and work on that shoulder and not get too caught up in what could go down in the Bahamas.
Wow. And even as you described that, Shannon, last year, as you mentioned, Baker invites the Cleveland Browns teammates to work out with him in Austin. And Austin is a cool city, but the Bahamas, it's almost like from Baker Mayfield's perspective, he's probably thinking, Deshaun is doing that kind of an in your face to Baker. It's like, you brought him to your hometown in Austin. Well, I'm taking him to the Bahamas. It's almost, it's like almost everything Deshaun Watson is doing now is haunting Baker Mayfield. Wow. Going to be very, very interesting. Jeremy KOLOK, Baker Mayfield, again, a nemesis of yours back when he was at OU and you're an Oklahoma State Cowboy. Do you think he's going? The thing I see about Baker Mayfield is before, like when he didn't catch on at Texas Tech and he had a chip on his shoulder and something to prove, he goes to OU and wins the Heisman. It's a similar situation here. He's going to have a chip on it. He already has a chip on his shoulder. He does have something to prove once again now in the National Football League. We'll see if he can do it. But what do you think? What do you think? Are we going to see Baker Mayfield, a second coming of Baker Mayfield, playing at a high level in the NFL?
Well, you're right, Chris. We absolutely might see the second coming of Baker Mayfield and his second redemption story, his second comeback of his career after he was kind of counted out. But the only problem is there's a lot more open jobs in college football for an individual to find his way to than the 32 open jobs in the NFL. There's a limited amount of room for this man. So he might have this whole comeback story and this chip on his shoulder, but if he doesn't get that opportunity, then it doesn't even matter. And if you're the Browns, I don't really understand what value you have in keeping him at this point and still holding him. Don't you want to get something? You'll get something in return for him, I assume. And it's just, it's obviously with bringing Deshaun Watson, you're bringing in tons of attention and probably unwanted attention for a guy that, like you said, Chris, should probably be suspended. So it seems to me like, wouldn't you want to mitigate that as much as you can and try to at least minimize the drama that you have going on with your organization and try to get your former starting quarterback on a new roster so you can kind of flip the page here?
It's a great question. And yet I wonder, if they're thinking the same thing at the Cleveland Browns, like they know, like Baker now knows, there's not a huge market for Baker Mayfield right now in the NFL. And to your point there, Jeremy, they're saying next year's NFL draft class is going to have about 5 or 6 really good quarterbacks who are going to take 6 more jobs in quarterback rooms across the NFL. So it might even be tougher a year from now for Baker Mayfield. But maybe the Cleveland Browns also realize that if Baker plays for us for 6 or 8 games and plays really, really well, maybe we can get more for him late in the season if he performs well than we could get right now. Now, speaking of Deshaun Watson, Shannon, we're understanding that the NFL, the powers that be in the NFL, are going to sit down with Deshaun Watson and pepper him with questions. And since the latest negotiation between the players union, the latest collective bargaining agreement, whereas before Roger Goodell, the commissioner, would issue the suspensions, he would be the final arbiter on, it's like Ezekiel Elliott. Here's how many games you're going to get. Apparently, this now goes to a different group of NFL executives. It's a multi-member committee who then will dole out whatever the punishment's going to be for Deshaun Watson. We're assuming there's going to be a punishment. So, I mean, this is phase one of, and I've heard some reporting, Adam Schefter or somebody said the NFL wants to get this over sooner than later. So by midsummer, they'd like to wrap it up and assess a punishment for Deshaun Watson, which I think is going to be amazing because you still have the 22 civil lawsuits out there.
Yeah.
What if you give him 6 games or 8 games and then we find out in the civil lawsuits that it's a lot worse than we ever imagined? Do you then come back? Is that double jeopardy? Do you then come back and give him more time? I don't know how they're going to do that.
Yeah. Well, and when you said, the NFL wants to get over this sooner rather than later, it's kind of laughable seeing that we are, going into year 2 of this, and he was just kind of sitting out all last year with the NFL seemingly not really touching it. But he is set to meet with the NFL this week to be questioned because they are ultimately deciding whether or not he violated the league's personal conduct policy. And if he did, then therefore there would be, suspensions, fines, what have you. But that's a great question too. If this does get settled on the NFL side of things, more comes out. It looks like maybe the punishment wasn't enough. Can they have contingencies in there that says you need to go ahead and serve this, but if this happens, this is where we go next? Because people are going to be irate should they feel like he was not punished in a meaningful way based on whatever goes down in the courts.
I'm still amazed, Shannon, that the Cleveland Browns gave up so much and they paid so much money to Deshaun Watson with so many unknowns. Yep. And so much of this 22 civil lawsuits right now are allegations about misbehavior and deplorable behavior with women. And I mean, that's such a big part of your fan base. And not only women who are Cleveland Browns fans and season ticket holders, but men who love women, and they may be the wives of men or the daughters of men who are also outraged by the behavior of Deshaun Watson and what we may further find out. We always say Cleveland is the place where quarterbacks go to die. Yeah. Here's Cleveland betting its entire future on Deshaun Watson, and it could still go very, very, very badly. And they may wind up with no quarterback, no Deshaun Watson, and Baker Mayfield may leave town, and they might have to start all over again and bring in more quarterbacks to die in Cleveland.
It's astounding. I mean, before Baker Mayfield, we remember the list, the one jersey where a guy just kept putting tape over all the different names, so he didn't have to keep buying a different jersey. And you get Baker Mayfield, and he wins games, which they weren't doing. And he wins multiple games, and he takes them to the playoffs, and they win a playoff game. I mean, he's done everything as far as on the field and wins and losses that you've been hoping for. You finally get that guy. No, yes, say you had a down season last year, but compared to where you were and the running list of quarterbacks you had, he was next to a miracle. So the fact that you have that going for you and you are giving it all up for something that you don't know what you're even going to have on the other side, not to mention Deshaun hasn't played in over a year. That's not to say that he's going to be garbage, but still there's so many unknowns with this. And then to do it in a way that makes the current quarterback unhappy to where he could easily say, no, I'm not doing it anymore. What does that say about that organization? I mean, we thought they were crazy before, and this is just a complete mess for them.
Yeah, I just and one more thing on Baker. I think rightfully so. A lot of people criticize Baker Mayfield, kind of a hot dog. He's kind of they say he's difficult to work with in the locker room, but by all reports, he played hurt and injured all season last year. So I mean, the flip side of that is you can argue this guy's a gamer, unlike a Kawhi Leonard who's going to, oh, I'm hurt, I'm out, I'm tapping out, like so many athletes do today. Here's a guy who was apparently hurt enough not to play and was still playing for you. I mean, to his credit, he played hurt. You don't see a lot of that in the game today. So, I mean, as we look ahead to, what Baker Mayfield may be able to do, may be able to redeem himself with another franchise. He does look like a guy who's willing to carry a team on his shoulders, even when hurt, which is apparently what he was trying to do last year.
Yeah. And that's, looking at it that way, you feel for Baker Mayfield, because I think he felt like it was the right thing to do by the organization and that he would be rewarded for it ultimately.
Yeah.
And that, got turned around and completely changed. And, I'm still just wondering what's going to happen with Progressive commercials next year, if they found somebody else or if it's going to be Baker Mayfield actively looking for a new home.
That will be fascinating. And if they chose to stay with Baker, how could they change those commercials? I totally agree. Coming up, there's still so much more we got to talk about in the National Football League. Jerry Jones is in the news talking about would he sell the Dallas Cowboys if the price tag was absolutely astronomical? We'll talk about that. Jerry has spoken up about that. Antonio Brown, Sean Payton in the news. We'll dive into all of this, and we'll dive back into tonight's NBA draft lottery. Spurs hoping for some good luck tonight, along with a bunch of other NBA teams, and the Eastern Conference Finals get underway tonight at 7:30 Central Time. Miami Heat hosting the Boston Celtics in their game one. We'll revisit that matchup as well. She's Shannon Salty Sweeney, Jeremy KOLOK making the show go. We're with you till 9 on the Chris Duel Show. Woo! Okay, I got to look at this and see if I got a commercial that is 1 minute, 8 seconds long, and that's way too long. It is the most active season of the year. I got to cut 8 seconds out somehow. Back pain, shoulder pain, it just takes the fun out of living. Chris here, I've got fantastic news. QC Kinetics is helping people get the fun back with advanced regenerative treatments from local medical professionals. Regenerative medicine is the hottest thing going. It's basically taking growth factors with healing properties from your own body, highly concentrated, and putting them into your aching joints. This exciting in-office non-surgical treatment can repair and restore damaged tissue in your joints, giving you real lasting pain relief. QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in these cutting-edge, all-natural options. Patient satisfaction reports are incredible. I'm going to try to get that out. Okay, somewhere in there. Can repair and restore damaged tissue in your joints, giving you real lasting pain relief. QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in these cutting-edge, Okay, I'm going to cut that. Giving you real lasting pain relief. QC Kinetics is giving you real lasting pain relief. QC giving you joints. QC Kinetics is the name. Doing your joints. QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in these cutting-edge, all-natural options. Pain, knee pain, back pain, shoulder pain. Get the fun back with advanced regenerative treatments from local medical professionals. Regenerative medicine is the hottest thing going. It's basically taking growth factors with healing properties from your own body, highly concentrated, and putting them into your aching joints. This exciting in-office non-surgical treatment can repair and restore damaged tissue in your joints. QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in these cutting-edge, all-natural options. Patient satisfaction reports are incredible. Yes, you can get real relief from pain with no surgery. Patient satisfaction reports are incredible. Yes, you can. Okay, I'm going to do that. It ain't easy. See what that does. See if this makes sense. Options. Yes, you can get real relief from pain.
You've got bugs. What's your move? Unravel can?
This is the nation's leader in these cutting-edge, all-natural options. Yes, you can get real relief from pain.
You can't pronounce? Or essential oils.
Pat Kovar, welcome in.
Not your family.
In Memphis. Thanks, man. Appreciate your checking in from Memphis, Pat. Okay, now I am going to... I got to kill 3 seconds on this thing.
At LASIK Plus, we performed over 2 million LASIK procedures nationwide and have more 5-star reviews than anyone else. I am extremely happy with my experience at LASIK Plus. I definitely would have gone anywhere else. Waking up in the morning is absolutely liberating. Now you don't have to reach for the glasses. You don't think about them anymore. So there's absolutely no doubt that I recommend LASIK Plus to my friends and family. There's a reason LASIK Plus is the patient's choice for LASIK. Actually, there's a ton of reasons. But did you know that the entire procedure only takes minutes? And that most patients are back to normal activities the day after treatment? So don't wait. Now's the time to finally take that first step towards LASIK and score a great deal at LASIK Plus. Right now at LASIK Plus, get 20% off LASIK in May. That can be over $900 off for treating.
Okay, that's 22 seconds in. I still need...
That's mylasicoffer.com. The patient's choice for LASIK. Plus, make this promotional between May 2020 followed by 20% off standard price of procedure plus provided with other offers. Go to mylasicoffer.com for details.
See if this makes any sense. All right, I got to play this spot back. It is the most active season of the year right now. Outdoor activities, golf, swimming. But if you got hip pain, knee pain, back pain, shoulder pain, it just takes the fun out of living. Chris here. I've got fantastic news. QC Kinetics is helping people get the fun back with advanced regenerative treatments from local medical professionals. Regenerative medicine is the hottest thing going. It's basically taking growth factors with healing properties from your own body, highly concentrated, and putting them into your aching joints. This exciting in-office non-surgical treatment can repair and restore damaged tissue in your joints. QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in these cutting-edge, all-natural options. Yes, you can get real relief from pain with no surgery, no drugs, no downtime. Stop putting it off. Call QC Kinetics now and learn more about regenerative medicine and get a totally free in-office consultation. 512-593-4303. 512-593-4303. In Austin and Round Rock, 512-593-4303. That's 593-4303. QC Kinetics. Okay. All righty. I should plug my phone in. Here we come. Ah. Pat will give you a shout out. I won't give AM 590 a shout out because I don't want anybody listening on 1300 in Austin or 760 in San Antonio to go look for 590, even though I don't think it's there in each market. But we'll give you a shout out for listening in Memphis.
Back to the Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney.
Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney and Jeremy KOLOK, your Soundscape stylist, training for his escape to St. Louis, following in the footsteps of Scott MANDZIARA and Dave Ayler, previous Soundscape stylists who defected. Not that I'm bitter. I'm not even.
You might be a little bitter.
I might be a little bitter. And of course, our good friend Jonas Clark defected to the sports grind. Not that I'm bitter about that. Good old Jonas Clark. We did see Jeremy. Pat Kovar on the live video feed is listening in Memphis this morning. Good morning, Pat. Thanks for listening to us in Memphis. That's your old stomping ground, Jeremy. It's nice to know that Memphis, Tennessee is in the house this morning. That's a cool thing.
Yes, sir. I hope you enjoy your however long you spend in there. But if you have time, go to Corky's for barbecue, if possible.
Corky's for barbecue. You know what? We blew it, or I saw it like after the show. In fact, John Williams told us late in the show. Yesterday was National Barbecue Day, so we should have surveyed everybody. Where do you get the best barbecue? So in Memphis, the answer is Corky's. Now, Paul Alexander, who we have on every Friday, and oh, by the way, this Friday and next Monday, Paul will be in for me along with Shannon and Jeremy, but he's from Lockhart, Texas, and he says Lockhart, Texas is the barbecue capital of Texas. I imagine some other people would want to fight him on that, but so anyway. Corky's in Memphis. Do you, Jeremy, the Mark Cohn song, Walkin' in Memphis, you give that a thumbs up? You dig that song?
Yeah, it's a good song. I'll give it a thumbs up this morning.
I like Mark Cohn. I think he's a very underrated singer-songwriter. All right, let's dive back in. Shannon Salty Sweeney, lots going on that we didn't get to in the world of sports. And, of course, Antonio Brown is the gift that keeps on giving. And Antonio Brown wants to continue to insert himself in the news cycle. What is the latest on wayward problem child wide receiver Antonio Brown?
Yeah, Antonio Brown changes his mind more than a 13-year-old girl. I mean, he wants to play. He doesn't want to play. He's going to own a team. We don't know what happened with that. Well, yesterday he tweets that he just wants to retire a Steeler. And I find that really interesting considering how he left. Where he's been. He obviously won the Super Bowl with Tampa Bay. I don't know if it's, one of those one-day contracts, bring him in, let him sign, let him retire. If it's even worth it for the Steelers, if they even want to put up with that, if they even want to be associated with him in the way that he's been acting as of late. So, who knows, given that it's Antonio Brown, how serious he is about retiring. Obviously, thanks to Tom Brady, we know that you can easily retire and then unretire. Looks like he's just trying to keep himself relevant and in the news because we haven't really heard from him that much. But I don't know if you were running the Steelers organization, would you be down with doing that for him? Because that's really something you do for the player. It's the organization. There's nothing to it.
Yeah, not just no, but hell no. It's kind of like Kawhi Leonard, and I have forgiven Kawhi, but it's like Kawhi Leonard saying, "I'd like to retire a Spur." It's like no, you not cool. But I wonder. Well, first of all, Jeremy, what do you think? Yeah, and you're giving us the Jerry Jones no. I'm assuming you're a hard no if you're a Steeler staffer on having Antonio Brown retire as a Steeler.
I am a hard no on that.
Okay. So there is that. But I wonder, Shannon, okay, does Antonio Brown still have something in the tank? And now that Bruce Arians has moved up to the front office in Tampa Bay, Tom Brady did have a relationship with Antonio Brown. Antonio may have burned those bridges with Tom Brady. We don't know for sure, but I'm just wondering, with the new head coach and Arians in the front office, I wonder if Tom Brady, if he felt Antonio Brown could contribute at that wide receiver position again for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. As you mentioned, Shannon, they won a Super Bowl with Antonio Brown at wide receiver. I wonder if Brady and the Bucs would consider it. Probably not, but I wonder.
Yeah, considering not just the way he left that game against the Jets, but what's happened since with him in the media and whatever's going on. Tom Brady, we talk about how great he is on social media. I mean, he gets it. He gets perception. He gets those things. And so I don't think he'd be willing to bring Antonio back, especially if this is Tom Brady's farewell season, right? I think he wants it to be about Tom Brady and not about the antics of Antonio Brown.
And I know a lot of people, because Brady signed that deal with Fox, assume that this is his farewell season. I still think he may shock us, and this Miami Dolphin thing may still be in play after this season, but a long way to go before that happens. All right, Jerry Jones, speaking of the gift that keeps on giving, Shannon, Jerry Jones, now there is speculation that even though the Cowboys are valued at about $5 billion now, it goes up every quarter. Forbes will do a valuation on the Cowboys. It went from 4.2 to 4.7. It's worth about $5 billion now. But because it is the most valuable franchise in the world, and it is always appreciating, there are some and there are some mega billionaires out there now. And Jeff Bezos wants to get into the ownership game. There is speculation that if Jerry Jones wanted to sell the Cowboys, he could probably get $10 billion for the Dallas Cowboys. Shannon, do you think Cowboy fans would like to see different ownership? A lot of them lament what Jerry Jones has done for the last 3 decades, other than the Super Bowls that were a long, long time ago. And what do we know about Jerry Jones' likelihood of selling the Cowboys if somebody wanted to offer him a ton of money for the team?
Yeah, so Jerry Jones was speaking with Peter King, a sports writer, and that's where he said, I would never sell the Dallas Cowboys, but if I did, I think I could get $10 billion for them. My question at first was, wow, that's a lot of money. But then also I know the Broncos, right? That number's around $4 billion, I think, that they're trying to get from a group to purchase that. So if you compare those two, shouldn't the Cowboys be worth more?
Yeah. And I think if you had that kind of money, if you were Jeff Bezos or one of these mega billionaires who has access to that kind of, Elon Musk, what was the Twitter price tag? 43 million.
Yeah. And that's on hold right now. So.
Okay. So if you had that, if you think about it, if the Cowboys are worth $5 billion today, and you think long term, and you just look at the way they have appreciated over the years, what will the Cowboys be worth 10, 20 years? When Jerry's investment, where he mortgaged pretty much his oil business and went into debt to buy the Cowboys, a lot like Jerry Buss buying the Lakers. Yeah. Turned out to be a heck of an investment. Will sports be hugely valued? And will it rise at the rate it has been rising 10, 20, 30 years from now? It's a great question. Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, as far as ownership and whether or not people would want Jerry to sell, clearly he's setting that up to be a generational family business with Stephen Jones and all the likes. I think people are okay with that, but they'd rather Jerry himself step away a little bit more.
Yeah, and God, someday Jerry keeps getting up there. One of these days, like Al Davis, he will naturally move on to another world. But we will see. Right on it there, Jeremy KOLOK with the Jerry Jones drops. So Sean Payton, the word was, we just talked about Tom Brady in Miami. Those who say they know say that was very close to happening. Brady was going to become a part owner of the Dolphins. Sean Payton was going to find his way there. The Dolphins would have had to give up something to the Saints because they have the rights to Sean Payton. But what is new in the world of future NFL head coach someday, maybe next year, Sean Payton?
Sean Payton has signed a 1-year deal with Fox to be an in-studio analyst, and he would be on the noon coverage on Fox that takes place, or the 11 a.m. coverage that takes place prior to that first kick game on Fox during the weekends on Sundays. And apparently, I've watched that show a few times and thought, where's Jimmy Johnson? Where did he go? Jimmy takes some time off here and there. It's weird to think that someone who works 1 day a week takes time off on Sundays, but okay. So to fill in when he is gone this season will be Sean Payton. To me, it feels like it's just something for Sean Payton to do this year as he waits for his next, major move, because, it's only a year deal. It's only for fill-ins. Maybe he's testing it out a little bit. Maybe he falls in love with it. Maybe he looks to do that in the future, but accounts still point to him getting back either in the coaching game or ownership here in the near future.
Yeah, the Jimmy Johnson thing is weird. And this past season, I would see him on video from wherever he lives in Florida or on his boat. And I'm assuming that was because of the pandemic. I'm assuming that, he was staying away from coming into a studio because of that. But and I just don't, Sean Payton and Jeremy, you mentioned this yesterday, talking about Drew Brees. They don't bring that. Drew Brees, very good and was a great quarterback, but doesn't have that dynamism that a Troy Aikman or a Tony Romo or even a Chris Collinsworth has. I'm not feeling that from Sean Payton either. Shannon, do you think Sean Payton's going to be a memorable and dynamic contributor on a panel show like that?
No, people like Sean Payton because he won games and his relationship with Drew Brees. He's not, the Dan Campbells of the world where you're like, man, we got to tune into this presser because you just never know what he's going to say. I mean, I see him being okay at this role, at this desk job, sitting there talking about football, but I don't know that he's, there's Terry Bradshaw's on that one, right? I think that's why you tune into that show.
Yeah. Well, and again, and I always go back to the TNT panel with Shaq and Charles Barkley and Kenny the Jet Smith and Ernie Johnson. When you have magic, when everybody's great, something very, very cool happens. All right, we've just got a few minutes left. I want to make sure we do this, Shannon. Eastern Conference Finals begin tonight at Miami. We'll do this tomorrow for the Dallas Mavericks and the Golden State Warriors when they open up their season. Let's start with Jeremy KOLOK, our resident hardcore NBA playoff fan. Jeremy, you got to pick a winner. Who wins the Eastern Conference Finals? Miami Heat or the Boston Celtics, and in how many games?
I would like to take Miami in 7.
Miami? Wow, that would be fun if it goes 7. Jeremy's got Miami in 7. Shannon, who you got in this series?
Oh, I like that. And I'd hope that if we do get to more game 7s, that they're not necessarily like the ones we saw over the weekend that were just blowouts. But I got to take the Celtics, and I'm going to say Celtics in 6.
Celtics in 6. And that would mean they'd win game 6 in Boston, which that is logical to me. Gosh, I'd like to do something different than both of you did. So, but I don't. I think Boston's going to win the series. I don't think they'd win a 7th game in Miami, although you saw what the Mavericks just did in Phoenix. So it's very, very doable. Shannon, you and I are in rare agreement on a prediction. I think you're right. I think Boston wins it, and they win it in 6. But this is going to be interesting, Jeremy, because you were a big defender yesterday, and we're getting a couple online. Jason Paniagua says Miami in 6. Now, Jeremy, you're a big defender of the Miami Heat. Why do you think they're going to prevail in 7 games against the Boston Celtics?
I think they're deeper than the Celtics, and I think the Celtics just went through a much more difficult and physical series than the Heat just went through over. I mean, the Heat manhandled the 76ers on, as far as physicality. So I just think, and they got a little bit more rest. And like I told you, Chris, a team that has Victor Oladipo as the 8th man off the bench, I mean, in their rotation, just watch out. Just don't forget about them is all I'm saying.
And in addition to those players, Shannon, I talked about Eric Spoelstra and Pat Riley, and they've managed to keep this team in contention. No runaway superstars on this team, but a whole lot of, I don't want to say second tier talent, but a whole lot of stars who are not superstars on the Miami Heat.
Yeah, they don't, they're kind of like almost Milwaukee, I feel like, last year, right? But stars were born, right? Chris Middleton, who they were craving to be a part of the last series, as he got a ton of screen time just standing on courtside, cheering on his team during that Game 7 for the Bucks. So, stars to be made. Jimmy Butler, obviously the big name on that roster, and I'm sure he's making some great batches of coffee this morning for him and his teammates to get up and get awake and get going here.
Very, very cool. Tomorrow we will predict, because it'll start tomorrow, the Western Conference Finals between the Golden State Warriors and the Dallas Mavericks. Shannon Salty Sweeney, outstanding as always. Hang in there in the humidity of Houston, and we'll do it again in 21 hours.
I will do my best, sir. Let's do it again tomorrow. See ya.
All right. Jeremy KOLOK, great job. Outstanding.
Thank you, sir.
We will see you in St. Louis.
Yeah,
sometime soon.
We meet it here tomorrow
as Irvin takes over very shortly. We want to thank another St. Louis defector. Scott MANDZIARA joined us talking baseball in the 7:00 hour. Bill Schoening, the voice of the San Antonio Spurs, on the show tomorrow. Thanks for hanging out with us. For Shannon and Jeremy, I'm Chris. Have a great Taco Tuesday. Adios, amigos. Thank you, Louisa, Jason, Pablo, Fred. Fred, I did not hear about Johnny Manziel throwing that touchdown pass. I still enjoy Johnny. I root for Johnny. That's kind of cool. I hope he continues to do well. Robert Chapa, what is up? Anybody in here? Adios. I will see you. And Jeremy and Shannon will see you tomorrow. Have a great Tuesday.